What is consciousness? Join the Sacred Kingdom community as we explore the deepest mysteries of existence. Subscribe to Sacred Kingdom on YouTube for this transformative live series.
Open your mind, diaphragmatic breathing when I rhyme. Feels like air and so divine. Watch what I do with this, then you call time. Rewind, I like projectors of reality like animation. Kamehameha, shining brighter than yellow. I wanna originate a homie, I am Ra. Mr. Consciousness, I've heard you got a lot of bliss. You're talking knowledge with a twist. You're putting love inside the mix. It makes me slowly reminisce on days we went through the abyss. So the light turned into mist. Tell me, Mr. Consciousness, hey, Mr. Consciousness, I've heard you've got a lot of bliss. You're talking knowledge with a twist. You're putting love inside the mix. It makes me slowly reminisce on days we went through the abyss. So the light turned into mist. Tell me, Mr. Consciousness, chilling with Thoth in the halls of a mentee. I go deep, I do not sleep. This energy don't go empty. Do not tempt me, I'm in cities you only find in the astral. It goes on and on. I call it fractals on fractals. I'm spitting.
There's a question I've been sitting with lately. What if our DNA isn't just a biological blueprint, but also a spiritual antenna? Stay with me. I'm bridging science and the sacred today. We know DNA is the instruction manual of life, 3 billion letters long, twisted into that iconic double helix. It stores memory and molecules. It turns light, food, and breath into you. But zoom out. Many wisdom traditions talk about a cosmic library, the Akashic Records. Akasha means ether, or space. Imagine a field that records every thought, emotion, and possibility, not as a dusty book, but as information woven into the fabric of reality. So where do these meet? Think of DNA like a radio tuned to specific frequencies. Your genes express or silence depending on environment, belief, and experience. That's epigenetics. But epigenetics isn't just diet or stress, it's meaning. When I change the story, I tell myself, my biology listens. Now, imagine consciousness as the signal. Meditation, prayer, breathwork. These are ways we adjust the dial. The calmer the mind, the clearer the reception. Have you ever had a download in the shower, a truth during a walk, a dream that felt more real than waking life? That's what it's like when the noise drops and the channel opens. The Akashic Records, to me, are less a place and more a frequency, an ocean of insight. DNA is the surfer. Your nervous system is the board. Attention is the wave you choose to ride. Here's a simple way I connect the two. I center my breath, 4 in, 6 out. Repeat, I set an intention. Show me what serves my highest good. I ask a precise question. Not, what's my purpose? But, what's one next aligned step? I listen, not just for words, but for feelings, images, and subtle knowing. I write immediately.
Hello, hello. Grand day and grand rising to you, wherever you may be in this moment. And thank you for joining us tonight on this episode of What is Consciousness? So I am Marcus Christolight, here representing the Sacred Kingdom, Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. And if we may just take a couple of breaths as we go into this space tonight. Take a moment to center, relax, let go of this day. Let go of the hustle and bustle of our daily life. The things that are taking our breath away from being deep in this moment to being deep within the core of our being. Just relax. Get ready to enjoy a beautiful podcast, to simply sit with esoteric knowledge, holistic knowledge of self, and to explore the multidimensionalness of our human DNA with the Akashic field. So in this series, what is consciousness? Myself, Lunar Queen, Sarah, and many other Sacred Kingdom members We continue to rotate throughout these episodes as we explore different aspects of the human consciousness and what it means to not only experience consciousness, but also be consciousness as well in this human reality. So we have talked about DNA and reincarnation, and we have also talked about neurodivergency as well in our last episode. So before we step forward into this episode, talking about the Akashic Records connected with our DNA, let's go ahead and take a rewind back to the last episode on neurodivergency and consciousness.
Chilling with those in the halls of a mentee. I go deep, I do not sleep. This energy don't go empty.
Okay, so look, we're going to be talking about, me and Sarah, we're going to be talking about neurodivergence and what that has to do with consciousness. So,
you said neurodivergent.
Wanting to live life and live life how you want to without being in a construct. And usually when we run into problems, what they call problems is when you get into the schoolhouse construct, right? So I believe like it's one of the closest connections that we have to source. I feel like it's one of the closest connections that we have to consciousness is, you know, with people and children who are so close to being tapped into true consciousness.
So interesting when you put neurodivergence along with consciousness, because what is normal? First of all, so it's a set of rules we've made for people to have a structure to be able to categorize different levels of awareness, right? You know, there's a basis behind type 2 diabetes, you eat too much sugar. There's a basis behind, you know, memory loss. There's a basis behind heart care, health care, right? There's reasons things develop. And so I have learned that along the journey, right? But if you put him into a school system that judges him by how fast he can do an assignment and how many per week he can do, he's not going to do well, right? So if I can give my son, for example, a paper, he would have a more difficult time taking the information off, putting it in the brain, working on it, putting it back on the paper. But if I show him a video of the same exact thing, he's like, oh, I got it. And there's no need to even do work. He'll get the answer. And that's not acceptable because they want you to do it their way. You know? So, yeah, the school needs reform big time, in my opinion.
Right. And the ones who reject the programming are the ones who are labeled different, you know, but it goes against our natural consciousness. It goes against our closest, because, right, we are spirit beings first, right?
Yeah. This is exactly why they're bombarding them like they're doing and changing the vaccination schedule, okay, to include 72. It's unnecessary. So if indeed, let's get woo-woo for a minute. If these children are from a higher vibration coming to help humanity,
how can you control something that's organic and sovereign? You can control it by making it artificial and synthetic.
Yeah.
And then using artificial and synthetic frequencies on the outside. You either identify with your experiences or you identify as being the observer of the experiences.
Is that you get to create it all. You know, you get to create your experience based on the rest of your life you decide to choose, right? So from this day forward, I decide to be this person. And then your whole reality is going to morph into that, right?
All right. So that was our last episode 2, Neurodivergent Consciousness. And now we are on episode 3. And welcome, Ali and Sarah. Thank you guys for joining.
Hey, y'all.
hello. How's everyone going?
It's going.
Good.
Yeah.
So before we dive in, I wanted to just read what DNA was defined as on ascensionglossary.com for us. Just kind of kickstart us into diving into the talk of DNA and the Akashic Records. Just give us a good basics of what DNA is and how it operates for us as human beings. So, current mainstream science defines DNA. Let me get a little background music on for us. There we go. All right. So they define it as the hereditary materials in humans and almost all other organisms. Nearly every cell in a person's body has the same DNA. DNA is a molecule that encodes a genetic instructions used in the development and the functioning of all known living organisms and many viruses. DNA is an acid alongside proteins and carbohydrates. Nucleic acids compose the three major macromolecules essential for all known forms of life. However, the Emerald Guardians, which are guardians of the law of one, inform us that the original human DNA imprint is referred to as the silicate matrix and is a 12-strand diamond sun DNA template. Since the Luciferian rebellion, humanity's DNA was unplugged and higher functioning DNA was lost. Now I'm gonna read one more thing before we dive in, and then I'm gonna hand it over to you guys. So the 12 strands DNA, now this is talking about our Christ consciousness and activating our higher avatar state. So the original human DNA pattern is arranged into 12 dimensionalized mathematical programs, each of which sets the blueprint for one DNA strand. Each strand is comprised of 12 base magnetic female codes, or myons, and 12 base electrical male acceleration codes, or dions. The 12 base codes and 12 acceleration codes hold the mathematical program for each double helix strand, which combine to form a set of 12 Victor codes. One base code plus one acceleration code is equal to one vector code. The 12 vector codes of the human genome manifest as 12 nucleotides that form the nucleotide base pairs, which are the entire DNA strands, are composed. The foundations of the human DNA is miniaturized, crystallized frequency, that is patterns of electromagnetic light that magnetically groups into crystalline form. I'm going to read that sentence one more time because I feel like many of us have heard something similar to this before, and it could probably confirm and connect some dots in this moment. So it says, the foundations of human DNA is miniaturized, crystallized frequency, that is patterns of electromagnetic light that magnetically group into crystalline form. These multidimensional crystalline templates are referred to as DNA seed codes. The DNA seed code, the template for our DNA strand, is composed of 12 magnetic particle units and 12 electrical antiparticle units. Each DNA strand is comprised of the frequency patterns and light spectrum of one-dimensional band. Each DNA strand represents a fire letter's code program sequence corresponding to one-dimensional frequency band of consciousness. 24 C codes equals one DNA strand. The level of frequencies that are accreted into the personal morphinogenic field will determine the level of DNA strand assembly that you possess. As a human pulls in more frequency bands from the dimensional unified fields, the personal frequency accretion level rises, and thus more DNA codes can assemble and activate. And that is where I'll leave it for that reading.
Wow. I love the Ascension Glossary. It has a lot. Wow.
Yes, it does. That is for sure. It does not disappoint. I'll tell you that.
It's so ironic that I just recently, you see that 12 wheel, that 12, I think right there. What does that say?
The Diamond Sun DNA 12 strand wheel.
Yeah, so I just made that like the cover of one of my offerings for 2026, like that same wheel. So I love that synchronicity. Hey,
Hey, Antonio. Welcome in, brother.
Hello.
Antonio actually, he was on our podcast the other night. He was sitting next to me on the couch at the retreat. So,
Right.
he kind of got his initiation into the community family.
Yeah, I remember. Hi.
Welcome,
Hey,
Charlotte.
Hello.
Welcome, Kat.
Hey,
Soul
Kat.
Hey.
Let's look up.
But you also see this wheel as well whenever they're depicting like the 12 Essenes or the 12 tribes of humanity. They'll have like the Lemurians, the Aryans, the Polarians, and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, just the other day I ended up tapping into, I think it mentioned like the Lucifer War or something at the beginning of this definition.
Yeah,
and
the Luciferian Rebellion.
Yeah, the Luciferian Rebellion. And just the other day I was actually brought into that past life memory of that, of like when like everything changed. And it was like a moment of like, oh my gosh, everything we wrote, everything that we were living for is about to change. And how long is it going to take for us to get back to this? And here we are. Yeah, that was a very interesting thing to tap back into. Can't really see what it says here.
I mean, there's a lot if we really wanted to get into this, but this is basically going into the Nephilim, and it's also going into like some of the beginning times of, when the fallen angelics came to the planet Earth. They started deceiving through false religions and dogmatic control. They started basically setting up these systems that were kind of putting humans into this like default trap of lower consciousness and being full of egotistical desires and things of that nature. A lot of things we see today, I mean, let's be honest, like look at what's going on our planet, to our children, to our food, to all these different things. There's a history that has led us to now, and this is that history.
Yeah, I believe it started with shortening our lives, because we used to live so much longer, and our DNA has the memory of living long lives in it. Excuse me. But one of the first things they did was they were able to hijack the code. And I remember like they showed, well, I don't remember in this life, but I was shown like when they hijacked the code of our DNA and was able to like convince us that, oh man, I could get into this all night, but convince us that the things that we're eating is wrong, that we need to be eating flesh and all kind of things. And it rewrote everything about our DNA as well. Like as soon as we started eating flesh, it rewrote our DNA.
That's right.
Yeah, they do twist up the truth. You're right.
DNA warfare, They understand that our DNA is what connects us to our crystalline state, our Sophia body. So like, if we are not in tune with our crystal state, then we're just basically going to be driven by the physical third dimension. And when that happens, that means we become susceptible and out of tune with the reality of, the highest and most best for ourselves. And it gets so deep. Like, the fact that they will basically tell us and teach us that nature is not good for us and that we should be afraid of nature. And then they're gonna basically suppress nature from us and then replicate nature with an artificial version or a synthetic version and tell us that we should have the synthetic and artificial that has all these known side effects and is also an experiment to them still. But we should be afraid of what has literally been here since the beginning to give us life in the first place. Like, we wouldn't even be living without the earth. Like, think about that, guys. Come on. Man. Right. What you gotta say, Sarah?
Oh, well, a lot, but
right. There's like
I mean, okay, so we first started talking about DNA. Well, I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know that everyone has it, and it's like a blueprint or a map, right? So the next question is not fact. I'm not a scientist by any means, but there's RNA then, right? Okay, what's the purpose of RNA? Because what we're talking about in this Luciferian rebellion, in my mind, is a cover-up word and name for when and no disrespect to them, just saying, when the Draconians took over. Because they inverted everything. They cannot create, they can only mimic. Which sounds a lot like Lucifer, doesn't it? Just saying. And there's 12 tribes, but yeah, so I mean, a lot. I mean, so let's go back to the RNA thing. Why is there such a push, and I don't hope this doesn't get really in trouble, but why is there such a push for this mRNA nonsense? Why all of a sudden? Like, show me the studies. What? Right? So, gotta ask ourselves, are we protecting our DNA? I mean, there's some foods that I've seen and medicines and so forth that have things like polysorbates and stuff in them that can open blood-brain barriers and things like that. I mean, so in reality, how safe are we really truly to having gene altering done and RNA altering through food and air and water? And I don't want to get all negative and conspiratorial about it. I'm just saying in general, it's a really good thing to think about, really truthfully, because they're just now starting to admit here in the United States that there's even a thing as cloud seeding. When it's been on open airwaves in like India, for example, for decades, So then you always hear the weird things and you see the weird things, about all that, right? I mean, so you have to ask yourself, how far down this line are we? How many of us have pure DNA at this point, truthfully?
Yeah, so
I don't know. I'm not trying to
go
go negative. I'm just saying, like, truthfully, I don't know. It's a very good question.
Well, the good thing about consciousness and the good thing about consciously being a creator is that we can rewrite our DNA at any moment. Like with people who have children at the age of 30, their children are naturally going to be more developmentally aware when they're born, just because like your DNA stamps like at the exact moment when you have the child. So like if a younger person has a child, you'll notice like when teens have children, their children tend to act more like children alongside them. But some children, when they're born by a parent who's like in their late 30s or mid 30s, they're like born more mature. So we can rewrite it at any time.
But that's also the positive thing about having children younger, which, is interesting. You just have more telomeres and stronger, like, stem cells and so forth like that. But just because you're given a predisposition in your genetics does not mean that you have to have a certain disease or ailment. If prevention's 9/10 of the the answer, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you know, then you can prevent it from happening. Just because you're given a loaded gun doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? Like, I know people who have cancer in their family, for example, who were very concerned about it and had double mammograms just because they wanted to be safe, which, that's their business and so forth. I'm not debating that. I'm just saying that this is a serious thing to lots of people,
Right.
finding out your genetic codes, and especially now with going back to our last episode with neurodivergency, the MTHFR gene mutation, detoxification gene mutation, right? That's very interesting.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you brought up RNA, because RNA is like a piece of the helix, right? And
yeah,
right here, is that Ascension Glossary that is comparing it to air, water, earth, and fire? Because I really like that.
Well, it's the rewritable part, right? That's what I understand. I could be wrong, but
yeah, it's all able to do, like, well, it duplicates up until like there's a change made to it, and then that will duplicate up until there's a change made into it. But certain letters go together, and I remember this from chemistry, but it's like so it's like the RNA goes with the DNA.
okay.
But I think it's interesting that I think whatever's pulled up on the screen, I believe it's from Ascension Glossary. It says the elemental substance of the planet as earth, water, fire, and earth, both DNA and RNA. It serves as the fifth principal element of cosmic aether, which is sourced from only the mother. Interesting. Yeah, I love that.
So there also has been, it's interesting you said that, because the aim of the they, right, of the dark factions, if you will, is that they'd like to have forever subservient beings below them. They don't want us to have a connection to source. They want to disconnect that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point of all this, right? They want to interfere with ascension. Yeah.
But luckily for us, all of that is being written in the Akashic Records and being retrieved. The more we release, because you can't really tap into all of the Akashic Records if you're selfish, if you're acting out of self-centered ways, if you're doing it with a negative ego mind, you actually can't get full information from the Akashic Records. You're only going to get partial information or a corrupted image of it. So that could be part of the motive as well. They want to hide history and keep us vibrating so low that we can't even tap into the Akashic Records. But the more of us who are actually able to release the ego and sit in love and light and purity are actually able to tap into the Akashic Records. Because even right here, I think it's the next to the last paragraph of the first section of this one right here. It mentions it on here. Let me see. I'm sorry, it's so small for me because I'm on my phone.
It's right there in the middle.
Let me see. Yeah. One must be purified to exist within the higher ethical standards of spiritual morality, and it is impossible for accurate representation of the Akasha to transmute through a being with purely selfish motivation of negative ego, desires, or service to self-orientation. This manifests as partial access or corrupted view to the historical record or soul record under the guise of the ego's science or judgment of circumstances. With pure heart-based motivation and sacred and reverent prayer towards life, one may request to access one's own Akashic record to view other lifetime identities, histories, patterns, and related issues that may have imprinted in the current timeline. This may be very helpful in clearing and releasing painful patterns. And then at the bottom here it says, Sound vision could be developed in part by practicing rigorous forms of ethical and cognitive self-discipline, concentration, and meditation. In particular, a person's moral development must precede the development of spiritual facilities. So it's saying like we're able to achieve this, but as long as we're acting in a space of like really low vibrational, which is what they push in the media, on TV and our music, everything. We're not actually able to access that. It says it on here that it's impossible. Like you can't actually get a full reading through from the Akashic without being able to release all of those things and focus your concentration.
I think it's a really good point to also bring up that, we should really all discern who it is that we are receiving our divination through. Because with this being said as a known fact, you can have folks that may have a lot of baggage or, a lot of traumas or just self-identity problems and things of that nature, or say business-oriented mindsets before anything.
Right.
And, that can slightly close off their field from truly accessing the pure Akashic for you. So just things to consider is just discerning who it is that you're receiving divination through, and just making sure it's not coming from a place where, they're just kind of going off their ego of telling you what they want you to hear, so to say.
Yeah. And the keepers of the Akashic will kick people out. Like if you're like, if somebody tries to go in there and you're intoxicated or just like too in your head, like I've heard stories of people like actually getting drug out of the Akashic Records by the guides. Like, hold on, you need to come back when you calm down. Like they take it very seriously, like the keepers of the space. Like their life purpose is to stand in there and make sure you're not drunk when you're coming in. So,
Right.
yeah. And so the only weapon against the Akashic Records to keep us from it is to keep us vibrating low, because the keepers of the Akashic take it very seriously.
Sarah, I know you you're a quantum hypnosis practitioner. What's some of the wisdom you have about accessing the Akashic?
Well, I've accessed that, nearly almost every session, I would say. It's a matter of getting a strong foundation to the person's higher self, to the person, and then to their own higher self, because you're exactly right about the frequency. You have to, like, with quantum healing and so forth, you go through a set of relaxations, okay, to come to a point of neutrality where you then float extremely high up on a cloud, for example, okay? And you keep going until you're at your highest, utmost, tip-top, where you could imagine that your higher self would be. So in that aspect, there's been many times where I've been reading things or listening to podcasts where in order to contact your spirit team or your higher self, you have to raise your vibration high enough to be able to hear them, So that's exactly where, meditation or deep reflection comes in, or quantum hypnosis or things like that, You're looking to get your mind into a theta state, what you're trying to do. So no matter how you do that, that's what you're looking to do, so.
Yeah, that's a really good description. I like to teach people how to do it because you guys know I like to teach people how to get into their mind space and connect with their highest self. So usually while you're in there, you can say, hey, I'm ready to go see my Akashic Records, and actually have your highest self guide you to it, and like your spirit team come with you. And then like the way it looks to me is that like we go through a room, and then like the door closes and you just kind of like go into a new space, and then like it's a very sacred space. And really, like, quite literally, if you're not in the best state of mind, or if you're not ready to receive, they'll like your team will like talk you through it, and help you receive as much as you're meant to receive. Because like not only are they like protectors of the knowledge of the Akashic Records, they're also protectors of like the receivers of the knowledge. So like they'll give it to you in layers as you're ready for it and things.
I think the easiest way for it to be viewed is through a theta brainwave state, where you would indeed see like a vision of your past, or yourself as a child, or your parent as a child, or something like that, without going through the formality of going through the halls to the library. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, metaphorically, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it is a easy way to kind of like let it come to you. Also, is that what you're saying? Like being in theta, and in meditation, and instead of you going into the Akashic, you can actually tap into it and have the information come to you.
Well, yeah, because if you think about the mind and the basics of it, so we have subconscious and conscious, and the conscious, of course, as everyone knows, is the one the conscious mind is what we're using right now to speak to each other. We're consciously thinking of things and responding.
Right.
So that's the one that runs in the background. So with the quantum hypnosis or deep meditation or things like that, good breath work, trance, stuff like that, you go into a theta state where essentially the thinking brain we're using right now, not literally, but essentially, basically, like, steps aside, right? And it just sits down. It has a little nap in the corner. It doesn't give its opinions. It doesn't give its ideas. It doesn't say anything. So the subconscious then actually speaks through the person verbally, not like a different entity, like itself, and the person's in complete control the whole time. So yeah, it's basically the truth in a linear form, because it's coming through the human mind. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, QHHT is really interesting to me. I really love like the concept, and it was very well created, and I think it's very well taught as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, everyone has, I mean, it's so interesting how all of our emotions can and do, as a pattern, be stuck into our bodies, and memories and patterns and thought processes and things like that, without even really realizing it. Good, bad, and different. You see your good qualities from your parents, you see your bad qualities from your parents, but it's interesting how it's all in there.
Right.
In my journey, I didn't realize how much other people's energy I thought was my own, right? So like, that can kind of program your subconscious mind. Do you know what I'm trying to get at with that? Maybe that was too deep, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
It gets programmed. Oops, pardon. It gets programmed, and then that's where we get the filters, or we call them programs, right?
Yeah.
So, there's another cool way that I like about a cool way I like to tap into DNA is also like the Earth has like its own kind of like genetic code. It's hard for me to explain because they show me things in visions, but also like if you tap into your Earth Star chakra in the area that you're in, like you can tap into like the codes like of the Earth and everything.
Yeah.
You can kind of like pull on like the DNA that was on the Earth and the memory of the Earth. Like there's so many different ways to like pull from memory. And you can pull through the memory of your DNA, which I think it's really accessible through QHHT. Like even if y'all aren't going into the Akashic Records for the QHHT session, that you can pull from the DNA of the person and like get, like their soul memory in a sense, because that is also like stored up in your crown.
Yeah, well, you can do a quantum session in this lifetime. You could say to the person's higher self and make a connection there and have a dialogue and say, tell me about XYZ condition. Why did this person give themselves this condition? What was the lesson they're supposed to learn? You know, so no, it's off topic of DNA and everything, but not necessarily, but a little bit. I'm just saying that there's a lot of different ways you can go about a quantum session, a lot of different things you can tackle.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's what, like, it's really cool because you can do both, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, you can, like, go to the formal library and, like, pull the information through, or you can also, like, just pull it from their DNA, which is, like, a more of a, like, a toe dip into, like, their information, you know what I mean?
Well, it's the here and now.
Yeah.
You know?
A library.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so complex.
You know, I actually, I first started connecting with information about DNA around, let's say, 2015. And this is when I like discovered my mediumship abilities through automatic writing. And I started channeling consciously. And I was like 19 at the time. And I remember I was like getting into meditation and asking questions. And like I was being educated about the 12-strand DNA and the planet. And basically, like, I remember this one thing came through about planet. And my guides were like, take the T off a planet, and what do you get?
Ooh.
You get plane. And like instantly, it was like, boom, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
We're in a multi-dimensional plane. It's not that we're in a sphere or a solid object. It's a multi-dimensional hologram of sound, light, and frequency. And then the DNA. The things I learned about the DNA through the meditation was that, and this is silent meditation too, there's no frequencies, no nothing. And I went into this meditation, and what I got about DNA was that DNA is basically the bridge that binds our light body and our light, our higher light, so to say, to our physical material. So it's like literally the bridge that binds the light codes to the materialization of our material avatar. So the DNA then is stored within the cellular system. And then through the cellular system and through the electric charge that goes through the cellular system, the DNA is able to be activated and online through our cellular system. But the thing is that there's a lot of beings that know this, and these beings are, I guess you could just say, not of this earth, and they've been aware for a long time about this, and they do many different things to try to mutate our DNA, to damage our DNA, to reprogram our DNA. And oh yeah, let me leave off on this as well. So I taught a workshop at my retreat, at a New Year's retreat, this New Year's, and I taught this workshop on the first day, and this was about shadow work, the subconscious, and reprogramming. And we listened to Dr. Joe Dispenza. You know, if everybody knows Dr. Joe Dispenza out there, he is awesome to listen to about reprogramming and power of the mind, things of that nature. And basically, I'm gonna give you guys my 3 key ingredients, as I call it, for reprogramming. And this is based on the knowledge of that human beings are designed off of patterns. So if you know that a human being is designed off of patterns, then that means the more that you're doing a certain pattern, the more you're going to condition and program your human being and your DNA to be in alignment with that intention or pattern. So with that, the 3 keys are intentions. So being intentional, making sure you have intentional energy and intentional focus of the mind and your heart together. And then with those intentions, you then generate energy. It's like your intentions is like a generator, basically. The more intentional you are, the more you generate that energy to exist. So then you take that intentional energy, then you begin to build routines with that. When you build those routines with that intentional energy, then you begin to set motion into creating new patterns and habits for yourself. Through the patterns, those patterns then begin to rewrite and encode your DNA and your subconscious to be in attunement and alignment with those intentions that you are in routine with. Then as you do more and more of that, you then begin to manifest outside of you more things that support those intentions and routines. And then your reality gets based off of that as you continue on. And then the 3rd key is consistency, being consistent with these intentions and routines. Now, consistency isn't measured by doing the most every single day. Consistency is measured by, did you put any action from any small amount to large amount towards what it is that you are building or have a goal or manifesting with? And that is consistency. You know, Bruce Lee is a great teacher that teaches about consistency, core strength, self-dependence, things of that nature. And when you can be efficient and you can be consistent with your purpose and your goal, then it's bound to be obeyed by the universe to manifest. So I just want to leave you guys with that. And those are just like some ways of thinking about how we are programmed as humans and how we can rewrite our DNA patterns. And this can also apply to ancestral healing too, really, when you think about it. You know, we can choose either, hey, I'm going to continue this pattern of alcoholism that I see is destroying my family, or I'm going to be the one that decides I'm going to find another way to celebrate life, another way to, you know, face the things that are painful in my life so that I don't have to allow, say, my children to go through those things or those around me to have to feel the effects of the vibrations it brings into my life.
Right. Oh, thanks for sharing that. That's a really good technique.
Absolutely.
Wow. And then, like, so what do we do when children are born into that and then the parent rewrites their DNA? Then we teach the children, like, those cycles. Okay, now it's truly on leading by example, because sometimes children are born into that DNA because of the parents being on drugs or alcohol when the child was conceived, and then they get sober and the child is still having problems, and it's because the DNA was stamped at that point. So now you've rewritten your DNA. You teach your child how to do that too, by leading by example. And sometimes it can be a little bit harder for the parents who have to teach the child how to rewrite it for themselves, but it's definitely possible.
I see that a little bit differently. I see something like that being more like two souls taking on a lineage, multi-generational lineage soul pattern. And so if a mother comes in and experiences alcoholism or addiction, and the child sees about it and or has some type of imprint, it's also that soul working on that, breaking that generational curse. in my opinion. That's how I see that. But because addiction is not hereditary, it's the patterning that it is.
Yeah, I don't think addiction is hereditary. I think the effects of like
it's the
emotions that come from it, the
actions,
the tendencies, what causes a person to become addicted to something. It's like filling in a gap, or sometimes it can be that that overindulgence trait, right? So if a child just so happens to pick up that overindulgence trait, that is something that you can help your child rewrite. But if it is a generational thing, it just really depends, right?
Well, if you're looking at it scientifically, it'd be the need for dopamine for the brain. Addiction. Right. So you could, in theory, have the, chemistry off, and that's what I'm saying earlier when I said you could be loaded, it had a loaded gun, but it necessarily doesn't have to be shot, or the trigger doesn't have to be pulled. So knowing your genetic structure is key, but I mean, like, okay, so you could have a predisposition to having addiction in your family. So you could look at it a couple different ways. You could look at it like the life patterns and life skills and life training that all my people in my past have gotten have led them down the same opportunities, the same, playgrounds or whatever, because, yeah, for example, there's different ethnicities that they say are affected differently by alcohol, right? But that just means the effect of the alcohol on the genetics necessarily, right?
Right.
I do not believe that addiction itself is hereditary. Now, all the things you learn, all the other things, yes, possibly. Because if a parent only knows so much, they only know so much, and that's that. You only know what you know, right? So how could they teach something different if they don't know it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see your your perspective on that, but like, so what I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying like if somebody's an addict that their child without rewriting their DNA is automatically going to be one, but the tendencies that cause addiction are something that does get written in DNA and genetics, and it's about breaking that generational pattern, that generational curse. Is the term that we use right now.
A soul lesson, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a soul lesson, you know, like because like usually addiction has something a little bit deeper. Like there's something beyond the actual addiction that caused it. So like just to tell a little of my story, like my children, like I have to help them with their anger, and that's something I've had to really just like demonstrate for them, because that's something that they inherited, and that's just like a small little trait. So it's the traits, like sometimes we can rewrite our DNA before having children, and they're born with like that upgrade. They're born with upgrades. But then there's the aspect of us upgrading after having the children and teaching them how to integrate the upgrades themselves without them being born with the upgrade. Does that make sense? That's like what I'm saying. Like, I don't think addiction is something like a child is like conceived and like, oh, I'm ready to do the alcoholism or anything like that.
I don't know if you know. Sorry. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I don't know if you know. I think I mentioned it before, but I have a bachelor's degree in substance abuse counseling psychiatry. Nice. I have personal experience from all that crap, and I have 10 years in recovery. But I'm just saying that, like, I just, from all my observations throughout the years, I just feel like the DSM can't fully diagnose everything, and that's where I keep going back to. I feel like it's deeper. It's a soul thing, and that's why I keep harping on that as all. You know,
you got to pull it from the root.
Yeah, right. Yeah, way deeper. Like. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like usually if the parent, like I was just saying, is able to pull that root out, it does rewrite the DNA, because the DNA keeps repeating until something changes, and then it'll change and then it keeps repeating from that. So you can change the cycle, and then like you create a new human being into this earth, you know, with the DNA that you have at that present moment when you create them. So
I guess that would bring me to the question, how deeply is our DNA tied to our soul essence?
Very deep. It's so right. Deep that it, because, you know, Marcus was just talking about, you know, the intentions, and being consistent with your intentions, just your mind being able, the way you think, the way you hold your intentions, the way you practice consistency can rewrite your DNA, right? So it's very deep. It goes deep into those soul lessons for sure. Like they're all tied in together.
Yeah, I see it like a I see like a living memory script, you know, like it's keeping track of the actions you're taking, the experiences have, and it's almost like a memory bank that just like holds memories inside of it as codes. Okay. And then those codes are like quantum bubbles basically that just like hold memory pockets in it, and then it stores into your cellular system. Then, you know, it's either active or not active depending on your electrical system, and then certain triggers happen and certain memories that are stored inside of your biofield can get triggered. And when you think about that and think about how we've talked about that, then, you know, if we have a biblical core and we're connected to our mothers and all these different things about DNA, you know, there's definitely something that is being passed along when it comes to the human biology. But it doesn't mean that it's like exactly that we are a label. It's just that there are patterns and memories that are stored within the DNA that's being passed on that just goes into the trickling of that birthing process due to, you know, that genetic connection. But I also feel too, it's important that we know that, you know, we're in a free will dimension. We're in a free will planet. And when there's free will at play, it's not black or white when it comes to what it means to have some type of genetic pattern. Now, it can, yes, be a story of like the hero's journey where that child's born and then they end up saving their family from continuing alcoholism or something of that nature. But due to free will, that's not the automatic story. The story could continue that now this kid ends up falling into really bad drugs, ends up passing away, and then it continues. Yes. And the pattern just gets deeper. So we just got to think that we are in a free will planet, and there's nothing that is ever just scripted 100% on the outcome for why something is happening. And, you know, spiritual bypassing in this realm is something that we got to be very wise of, because sometimes we don't progress in the ways that we'd like to progress, because we don't take action in certain ways when it comes to responsibilities as sovereign spiritual beings that came to this planet to be in full control of their free will, mind, body, emotions. And yeah, that free will thing, man, that free will thing is so at play in this dimension of the third density.
Yeah. And so many people like don't even remember that they have it sometimes. They're like, oh, I just got to go to work and pay these bills, you know. Hey, remember you have free will. Don't forget.
Yeah, man. They're being stamped, you know, like they're just being imprinted every day, just condition after condition, until we remember that, you know, we either, you can quote this if you would like too, we either, you know, condition ourselves or we get conditioned by the world.
Hmm.
So I've always had a really deep question no one's ever been able to figure out. It's like the $500 million question, right? So if
Oh,
this is, and we know that it is, and I'm totally agreeing upon that, but I'm just saying, if in theory, just that this is a devil's advocate, hey, this is a free will universe, free will planet, where we're at. So to what degree did we then agree upon for chemtrails and mercury in our medicines and aluminum in the water and fluoride in the water? To what degree are we being infringed upon? The big can of worms is probably not for today, but I'm just saying ponder this. If it's a free will thing and we agree to do this, to what degree and what level do we agree to do this to? How much really is manipulation of
oh,
our DNA? Because I think it's pretty deep. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty deep because, like,
There's a lot of history about.
you there? Can you repeat the last part, Marcus? I think you broke up.
Oh, oh. I was just saying. Oh yeah. There's definitely a lot of history about the manipulation that's taken place. It's like, here's the thing. It's like, we have free will, but when beings know that there's like ways that you can set up things that can get people to, unconsciously or kind of like half knowingly allow themselves to open their energy to something and become susceptible to receiving a certain energy or frequency. And, it's very, very, like, very strategic. Like,
Right.
when I say strategic, like, as strategic as it gets for thousands of years.
Well,
They've been doing
And
this.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing this. They instill fear into us, but I believe like this go around that we're like banding together quietly before we band together publicly, and I think that's where we could leave that at. I think that we've already decided that it's very unjust, and I think we're gonna bring them down. No more chemtrails in a decade, for sure.
right. Well, like, okay, so like to one level where there's liquor stores on every corner, we're allowed to and knowingly poison ourselves if we drink alcohol because we bring spirits to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You know that many of us are waking up to that fact, whatever. That's one thing, but where it's secretly in the food, secretly in the water, secretly in air, to me, that's a whole different level. And that's completely unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's where it comes back to,
Very much is.
anybody who's publicly stood up against as one, what happens?
Yeah.
So like silently we're banding up together. I think we know we've got this, but it's gonna take like a big group this next go round, and we were all incarnated with that knowing, right? Because our souls remember what keeps happening, and so our souls are being very strategic this go round. So it's gonna happen. It's rising up, like people are speaking more in layers, but like the big change where we all go back to free will and self-respect and respect for others and just living in unity with everything, just existing without all these issues is going to happen.
Well,
as a group, as a demonstration,
and you're right.
Basically.
You're right, and that's why everyone's saying, "Oh my gosh, it's getting so much worse." No,
it's not.
We're just pulling off the Band-Aid all the way now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're gonna reveal everything. Okay, see it all? Okay, here it is. Let's get rid of it.
It's only getting worse because people are starting to see how bad it's been.
Yeah,
that's why it looks like it's getting worse, but it's only
just already been
everybody
here.
Waking up. Yeah, that's why people have like that mindset, like, oh, it's getting worse. Oh my god, like raps, all that stuff. Like it's only because people are actually waking up one by one, starting to see like, hey, this isn't cool. Like why are we doing this? Like why are we treating each other badly? Like who said this was cool? And everybody like has all that guilt and stuff that they're releasing. So everybody
on their own time is actually going through these things
Yep.
and healing parts of themselves. So we can all, like, all or nothing, you know, we're all going to go in on it and be like, yeah, okay, this is what we're not going to do. We're not going to poison each other. We're not going to kill each other. We're not going to disrespect and hate speech, talk bad to each other. None of that crap anymore. We're just going to be, you know, and
Yep.
it's coming from a soul download DNA level, because that's what, like, most of the newly incarnated people are doing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. With the elevator
Awesome.
music. Yeah. It's 10-10 over here.
Oh man.
10-10 and a 10-year. Yeah.
Oh,
We've got this. No more chemtrails. No more stress. No more hate.
No more stress. I will say, it's like a good recommendation or tip for people out there that could want to, cleanse their DNA or activate their DNA is do a nice like full body detox, nice herbal based, plant based detox, or juice fast, things of that nature, and just cleanse out on the micro level, on the cellular level, all those things that could be artificial, synthetic, full of metals or toxic radiating frequencies, things of that nature. And that's a good way to help cleanse and also clear up the pathways for the crystals in your DNA to activate a little bit more as well. And
Marcus,
doesn't really
you
require
could actually, put in the browser, add what he's saying, put in the browser, look, what to do to make my telomeres longer, and it'll give you a detox.
Nice.
Or tips to make my telomeres longer, or whatever word you want to put there, but telomeres. Make sure to look up telomeres, because that's the cap on the DNA that holds things together, holds it in, holds it young, holds it youthful. And free radicals and toxins and everything, that's what erodes the telomeres. So be sure to keep mind of your telomeres.
Yeah. And like, if I could advise the next step after like the detox, maybe start like practicing what you think about, like, about yourself and what you think about your reality, because we do create our realities, right? So like, maybe from the detox or during the detox, you can even start rewriting the way you think about things, and the way you feel about other people. Like, if you might be struggling with like bad thoughts towards other people, or I doubt anybody who's aligned with this space is, but I'm just using an example, just start rewriting the code that's in your mind too.
Yeah.
Let me get my bifocals.
I know.
We have how to make your telomeres longer. Number 1, we have adopt a plant-rich diet. Focus on foods rich in fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, and phytonutrients. A Mediterranean diet is particularly beneficial.
I love Mediterranean food. I do.
Number 2,
Olive
we
oil.
have exercise regular. Engage in aerobic and high-intensity interval training to reduce oxidate stress and inflammation. And number 3, we have manage stress. Practice relaxation techniques and stress management to lower cortisol levels. And then we have get enough sleep. High quality sleep to help support your telomere health. Supplement with key nutrients, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and other antioxidant to support. There you go. There is your answer, Sarah. And you now will receive 5,000 for your answer.
Oh my god, you had the Jeopardy music like ready to go. Locked and loaded.
Yay! I'll take one
Nice.
of telomeres for 5,000, please.
Great job, great job, great job. Yes, indeed. Wow.
Well, well, well. So, I think it may be a good time to begin the close out. What do you two think?
I'm feeling it. That's a good note for the opening of 2026. Yeah, I sleep about 5 hours a night. I'm not gonna lie to you. I might need a
Sleep is
little
my
bit
biggest,
more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep, sleep, sleep. All
I'm a Taurus.
right.
I would think I'd sleep more.
I would say so, for sure. Taurus energy.
And I sleep like 5 hours. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good foot to step out on, for this year is like the rewriting or consciously rewriting of our coding. And I was just talking to a reverend who came up to my door not too long ago. And he was saying like they're teaching us all these bad things in the media. And so they're going around. And I ended up saying, if you can't change the way they're teaching, you change the way the students think. And, us being the students of the media and that analogy, right? So if we can't change what the media is teaching us to do, we change our own programming. And that's how we start the evolution, and rewriting of our story.
I'm cool with revolution.
Let's get it. I'm just kidding.
I'm a rebel. Hey, I love that word, so it's cool.
And walk up to him with love and light.
Yes.
Now sit down. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, before we hop out of here, I'm gonna play a little short video, and this little video is just like a minute and a half, and it's gonna be a nice recap of DNA and our soul level connection.
These kinds of things, because what I was shown is that this DNA molecule it's many things, but one thing it is like a library. Every lifetime a person has lived is coded like an Akashic history within this 24th chromosome. Eventually, I was shown that this is the connection that we have in our body to our higher self essence. In other words, when the soul is formed or made, it's this structure that contains the record, the potential, the energy, the information, everything about every incarnation that soul will ever live. When we're born, we only have access to a little bit of that information. It's like we filter down in order to be focused on an incarnation. But when that filter is removed, or if, for example, if we pass over and go back into spirit, we go back into the space where we have access to all that other information again. And so it's a system that works in order to give us the opportunity to not be aware of everything all at once, so that we can focus on a more minuscule aspect of a creational experience.
Yeah.
There it is. So that does it for episode 3 of What is Consciousness by the Sacred Kingdom. And I'm Marcus Christolight. You guys can find me by going to the link that is down below in the ticker, as well as the rest of the Sacred Kingdom community. and you can take a look at our link page directory and connect with Ali with her crystals, as well as Sarah through herbs and QHHT. And then you can also connect with other members like Jade, who has organic soap, hygiene, face masks, and other products. And we have other practitioners like shamanic, quantum level, and holistic healers. So with that being said, we thank you guys for joining us in this wonderful episode exploring DNA and the Akashic Records. If you guys have anything else to add in the comments, feel free to comment and add what you have as well. And feel free to ask questions, give suggestions about what it is about consciousness you would like for us to explore. And I'll hand it over to Ali and Sarah as well if they would like to close out.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Thanks for hanging out. We had a great time tonight. I'm Ali. Some of you might see me as Lunar Queen. I'm on TikTok and Facebook as Ali Lunar Queen. I sell crystals that I go pick by hand. If they have dyes, I just don't sell them. You know, I'm really serious about making sure like they're good quality. And also I offer astral projection lessons, and I do tarot readings as well for people who might be interested. As an excuse me, when I get close to bedtime, I start stuttering a bit. As an ascension oracle, my goal is to help you raise your vibration to a higher timeline. So that's like the goal of my readings. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out, and I'm Ali.
And my name is Sarah, and I am Shining Soul Healing and Wellness, and I am based out of Phoenix area, like in the East Valley, Mesa, Arizona. And I'm in quantum healing, hypnosis, Reiki, and herbalism. And if any of that sounds good to you, I would highly encourage you to reach out to me on one of my social media pages. Again, that's Shining Soul Healing and Wellness. And I'm in Mesa, Arizona, or Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys. What should we talk about next
All right,
episode?
everyone.
Yeah.
That's something for us to think about. Maybe some comments might help inspire us for the next one.
It'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. I look forward to you joining us as well as Antonio. You're a great brother for the community.
Thank you. Love and light to you as well.
All right, y'all. So our next live podcast will be coming up on Sunday. And next Sunday, it will be the next Organic Home Living podcast. We'll be talking about children and gender products, as well as the propaganda behind the marketing when it comes to the children and gender products. So you guys are not going to want to miss that one. That is going to be a very eye-opening episode. And you guys will also get some alternatives to how to navigate your way out of that mainstream life. But with that being said, here's a little preview on the closing. If you guys want to stay put and check it out. Thank you guys, and one love.
Good night.
Good night.
I need you to stop scrolling for 60 seconds, because what I'm about to share changes everything you thought you knew about the products in your home. Myth, that brightly colored cereals, fruity medications, and gentle kids products are safe because they're FDA approved and heavily advertised. The truth. Many contain ingredients banned in other countries, artificial dyes linked to behavioral issues, preservatives that disrupt gut health, hormone-disrupting chemicals like phthalates, parabens, and synthetic fragrances are hiding in plain sight, feminizing or masculinizing bodies in ways we're only beginning to understand. I'm going live with shamanic guide Christolight, herbalist Sara B, musician Evan Sturgeon, and organic product maker J-Date. On YouTube and Facebook at Sacred Kingdom. This conversation will be raw, unfiltered, and packed with solutions you can implement today. We're not holding back. Join us.